In this video from our Berlin conference you will get to know Titania, the crypto OS. Titania is bringing blockchain, cryptocurrency and decentralized apps to the whole world. Libertaria is creating the first global decentralized network truly accessible to everyone, even people in developing countries with limited resources. The users themselves help support the network and are rewarded for providing storage and other functions. The Titania Box is your gateway to the free, private, decentralized internet. Fully secure, yet simple enough for anyone to set up in under 10 minutes. Simply plug it into your router, follow the short instructions and you will be connected right away. Have fun watching the video.
Post that we have the dApp that we are confident about and which we have restructured for a while is the Litecoin dApp. So we had like two iterations of the dApp. So if any of you guys tried the RCs, in the RC 3.1, the RC3 we released the dApps hub with the Litecoin dApp. Post that we restructured some parts out of the Litecoin dApp that we'll talk about it in detail in the future, like when you know about the basic architecture and everything. So what kind of modifications do you need to make in Titania to be able to support all of the dApps and everything? And how it is more easily accessible and all of that we're going to explain. So let's go to the basic architecture as to, this is like, if you want to separate Titania into parts and know what everything is made out of, this is what you do. So you have a base OS layer which is from Yocto. Currently it is from the Pyro branch. We are going to upgrade to Sumo next. So this is the base underlying layer, and on top of that we have some layers that are some things that are layered on top of Docker, and then some things which are there on the system itself, so inherently in the system. So we have something called the Monit module, which was added in like the very first RC. So when we did the RC1 in December, this part was added. What this is essentially it monitors all the system matrices and everything. So it's a custom-built module that sort of self-regulates. So all of your data self-regulates. I think aggregate is a better word. So what happens is, so from now on, my Titania has been running for 2 months. If I want to look at the granularity of data points, from now, if I look at maybe 2 hours ago, I get granularity every 30 seconds. I know what the data point and what the CPU points and everything is. As I go further and further, maybe I want to look at what happened 45 days back. You'd have maybe per 20 minutes you would have one data point. So in this kind of self-regulating system, if your Titania has been running for over a year, maybe you have it wired to some battery supply or something and it's always on. Or even if it's not always on, you also have like the data between the power outages and all of that. So you can monitor what happens in your network, what is the effect of like the dApps and like all the other structures that you have on your Titania boxes. Something that is helped with is that we had a memory leak in one of the dApps that we had, and you can spot it like right away from the chart. So there's like a lot of graphs and stuff that we showed in the demo yesterday, like it didn't go as planned with the YouTube thing not being able to stop it on time and such. But when you flash the Titania box and configure, after you log in you get like this whole module which tells you what the uptime is, what are the threads that are running. So you can also like view like container-specific threads. For example, you added a PIVX dApp. Now what the PIVX dApp is running on your system, you can check without actually interacting with your system. So this is good for like new type developers or developers who want to know what is going on and which daemons are like draining their battery and stuff like that. So this is the Monit module. Next is, so Docker is like the next topic that Alex is going to explain. So on top of Docker, we have these dApps running. So currently, we have a helper dApp, which is the Nginx at the moment. So these helper dApps in our architecture are these dApps that you need basically for Titania to be able to function. So you have some underlying functionality that we are providing, right? We are providing the config module bit from which you can configure your boxes and stuff. So the Nginx dApp is something that we are going to ship, and every time it's going to be on. If you want to modify it, you can modify and then restart the dApp, and then it would work with your custom modifications. But this is like the inherent thing that is present. The other dApps that we have is the current IoT stack. We have all of it. We have the profile server, the CAN, and the lock. The lock server like forms the maps or in Titania. Like for example, in 2 presentations yesterday, there was this world map which had like Titania nodes and the IoT nodes of chapters and everything. That is that. The content address node and the PS nodes, I think like some of you are working on some sort of connections between them and like trying to figure out like a home network situation. Other than that, what we really want contribution in are the other community dApps. So the community dApps, currently what we have is Snapcoin. We soon think to have pivots, but if any of you guys want to pick those projects up. So the community dApps, we don't necessarily want it to be the crypto-based dApps. You can make any dApps and then send a pull request and it could be merged as a part of your, or if you want to run your own custom Titania stuff, you can just modify your own box, build the image and ship them if you wanted to. All of the repos are going to become public really soon after this conference, after this Sunday thing. We're going to release all the builds and like the repo on GitHub, so you guys can build on your own, like in your base environment and everything, or anything. Another thing is that since we don't have like a decentral store yet, and we are trying to formulate something that is minimalistic, we have this dApps hub service. What this is essentially a JSON store of all of your dApps. Okay. So for example, you have Navcoin. In that you have like tags and like, so what do you categorize this as? So this is like essentially all the metadata and all the data that you need. For example, if you, so you have your Titania Box, but you access, so this is Titania Box, whatever. But you want to access it on your browser. So somehow some of the ports need to be open so that the connection can go through to your browser. So all of those things, you need to specify somehow in some format. So this is the service in which you would specify it. Like not essentially in the service per se, you modify the service and then you restart it and then you have your own dApp running. We go in much detail of these like in the 5th and 6th months. Then you, on the base thing, you have this config backend. This is simple like Django backend for your configuration module that we saw yesterday when you get like options. So when you flash your card, you cannot access it without you like creating a user. So the config module was the one that had the configuration and the login page, and then gave you access to the like the rest of the module that we made, like the UI part of the Titania, like where you can access all of this stuff. So these are like the basic modules currently in Titania. Should we proceed to the next part, which is more explanation for Docker and containerization, or does anybody have any questions? Yes.
The identity topic of the box was in the beta time the IP address, which was given first when you connected.
Yes.
Has this already been changed?
Yes. This was changed in 3.1. So we made sort of a blunder in the 3.0 release where something was left hard-coded, so all the nodes disappeared from the map. And we caught them in the 3.1 release, and for once and for all, we wanted to fix this IP thing. So currently it's a hash of your public key. So everybody would have a different one and would not use your IP addresses. I do not know this in full detail. Bartmos can help you out with this question, like when he handles questions for Mercury and maybe the IoT stack. Any other questions? Okay, now we move on to the Docker and the containerization part of the presentation. Yes.
So, who doesn't know what a Docker is? Just okay. So we start from the beginning.
A little louder.
Louder?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Well, Docker is the thing that's built on containerization feature in the Linux kernel. Basically, the whole idea is that in a normal system you have a kernel, and you have processes like number 1, number 2. That's your normal operating system, right? And they all share the memory, they all share the file system, so if anybody hacks into one, they can access the rest. And also they have to have the same base layer. For example, let's you have Ubuntu or Debian or something, so they use the same files. And if you use one app which uses one version of the library and the other app needs another version, you're out of luck. You either have to install both, or sometimes it's very complicated. So the container is a feature when you can isolate processes in so-called control groups. So they're still like normal processes running in one kernel. You don't have any virtual machine or anything, but they all think that they are on separate computers. So they have their own personal view of the file system. They have their own personal view of processes, and for an application, it's almost impossible to know that it's running in the container. But this stack was pretty complicated to use, so people from Docker came up with a good solution how to use it for like general programming. They allowed you to, they said, okay, you want to be running one process in a container, it's very complicated. You may want to package the whole application as a container. For example, somebody might want to have Nginx or MySQL or something as an app like you have on Android phone or something, because you don't think about all these small processes in the app, right? So they made an infrastructure where you could use layers to combine them into something that can be run as a container. For example, you can have Ubuntu as a base layer. Then suppose we have some kind of program which uses Rust, right? You can have Rust library, which is a separate layer. And then you have a layer with your program. So all three are separate. They can be combined with other software, but for when you run Docker, they all are combined together, and it's called an image. Like this. When you have an image, you can run multiple instances of the image. So you can have two copies of the same software running, but they will all reuse all these things, so you're not wasting any hardware space, any disk space. But at the same time, the file system as seen by this program is totally different from the file system as seen by this program. So if they make any modification, they think they're separate. So this is called image, and this is called basically containers. What Docker was innovative for is that they built the whole infrastructure to download these layers, to publish them like you would on GitHub or something, and they have a special scripts called Docker files that you use to describe how this whole thing is built. I can show one on the projector. Anybody knows the Monero miner, Sembrick? Nobody? Well, basically it's a simple CPU miner. And here's an example of how you would containerize something like Okay, so you have a pointer? What? Ah, I have a mouse. Yeah, sorry. So with Docker, you can use simple instructions like you take a base layer, then you run a few commands. After each command, the intermediate layer will be created. So if you need any changes, for example, here, all those will be cached. So you won't be running them multiple times. Then you do more commands and more commands, basically. And you set which program is to be started as a starting point of the container. So now if you build this thing, then you will have an image, and you can run it multiple times. That's basically what Docker is. Also, Docker makes a virtual network interface for all the containers. So basically, if both of them expose a port, say 18. So normally you wouldn't be able to have two applications on the same port, but since they are on a private network, they all work, they all have a separate IP, and you can use forwarding, so you can set this to, for example, and this for a different port on your host without making any changes to those containers. They also think that they're working on port 18. Well, that's in short what Docker is. Yes, so does anybody have questions? No?
Okay, we move on. Okay, so the next part was dApps Hub, but since a lot of you are not familiar with Docker and stuff, I maybe do some easy stuff before that. So we can talk about the UX module and how you can modify those things. To make it like maybe if you want to ship Titania out with your custom modifications, what kind of changes would be required and what all is actually there in that place. Okay, so the UX portion, so the UX portion part is pretty so we are supposed to rewrite the, currently the module exists in Python. We're supposed to rewrite it in Rust. The basic essence is that you have this collection interval and a retention period. So the idea is that suppose this is one time collection of all of your aggregates. Okay, you collected your uptime, CPU percentage, blah, blah. This is the second aggregate, whatever. So the time interval between this and this is your collection period. And suppose if you have 100 by now, 100th record, it is a possibility that your first record has become like sort of obsolete now. It doesn't need to exist in its original form. Then the aggregation becomes, goes on from this and up. So this period, time period between 2 to 100 would be the retention period. It's pretty basic, like there's not much to it per se. But it's just that you can modify this to see like some specific data points if you want to monitor your system and or if you do not want to monitor your system and give it to someone else to monitor who is basically more better at like reading graphs than to be able to run console commands and figure out the issue for himself. That is what happens mostly like in marketing sectors where you have this mining of data which is like terabytes and terabytes of data, and the person who's actually seeing and identifying the issues has no technical expertise. He's just looking at maps and graphs and reports, and the reports are supposed to have like some 99% accuracy. So this is where that area of thing will be applied or whatever. The next topic is what is the current structure of our dApps Hub? Sorry. Okay. So currently, So currently the dApps, so you install your container, okay? You start running your image that you created on your own on the Titania Box. The whole point of this whole thing, that why would you install your container on Titania and everything, is that we've created some sort of system whose end result is that you will be able to access the thing by Titania or whatever you name your node or local /dApp / the name of your app. So if your app was called app1. So the end result that you want to reach currently with all of your debugging and all of your programming and stuff is this URL, okay? What constructs do we have to get to this point? So there is a service called dApps Hub. The service is essentially a JSON file. The JSON files consist entries from each of the dApps that are a part of your hub page that you have on the UX. Essentially, it would contain the ones that we are shipping, the Nginx ones, the whole IoT stack, and all the community ones. So maybe in the next release, you will see that this part is separated from, and like for any customizations, you get a different JSON, so that you do not mess up the actual configurations here. Basically, what you define, like suppose for example, you have an app, okay? So maybe you made a Minesweeper app. So what you need to define is basically the ports that it needs, and for what does it need that port, like for TCP, for any other like operations. In case it wants to interact with some other applications, then all of that essentially we imagine that would be defined here. The guidelines for this will be available shortly after this release, like a proper guideline as to what you should follow to be able to run the dApp successfully and get it onto the other side on your browser from the Titania Box. But we are going to show you like a short demo as to how you could achieve something like that. So Alice is going to take a container and show you how you go from having the making the container to having it up on the Titania web URL. Oh, okay. Here's the thing. Okay, so basically you can see like, can you go to the end, nav. Yeah, so this is not like really formatted JSON, but you can see like, this is the amount of information. It doesn't need to be all of these things, but like some of them are crucial. We'll tag them after this thing. So the idea is that you have an ID, you have a name, you have labels and tags and stuff. The main part of this whole discussion is that you define your ports, and then so you need the port like 80 port for TCP, you need the 423 for like TCP internal and all of that, and you define all of these things that your app needs here. And when you restart this service, this app should appear on your dApp store in the UX, and you should be able to access it after you install it. So with the installation, currently in the Titania 1.0.0, we ship the Nginx, of course, because that is needed for everything, and the IoT stack pre-installed. You could uninstall them. With community dApps like Navcoin and stuff, you need to download those dApps and you can enable, disable, delete them if you don't want them anymore, and things like that. So it is customizable to your own heart's extent. So this is the basics of this. Does anybody have any question? No questions?
How much time do you need to finish this? That's the question from the other side. There are some people waiting.
The demo will take maybe 10 minutes, 5 minutes.
We need to have this running.
So how much time do we need? That's my question. The others.
Like 15 minutes, I guess.
10 minutes. But since like majority of the population doesn't know what to do, to do the demo. there's a short demo that where we show containerization. Which of you guys are interested to see that? Like, it's like basics with all the commands and everything and how to make it. Okay, so it's only like some 10 people, so we can have a short session. I will check with Kylie and let you guys know. I post it on maybe Libertaria movement, so it's like visible to everybody. So I can see how many people are going to develop the dApps? You? 2, 3, okay, good. So this is a basic overview where we take source code, make a dApp out of it, and integrate it to Titania. So this is a basic outline. Because this is really short, if you have a question at any step, you can feel free to ask. You can jump in and ask a question. So Alex is going to run through all of the commands and go step by step. So okay, you can continue.
Okay, so for our example, we took XMRig, however it's spelled, and it's a CPU miner for Monero, if somebody knows. I took it because I know it compiles well for Raspberry Pi, but you can take any project you want in basically most of the languages because there is a Docker container for that. So what you do first, we have an outline. You locate your source, or you write your source, depending on whether you adapt something or write it from the scratch. And you try to make a Docker file, which basically contains the commands you would do if you were installing on your own system. I made a very naive Docker file first. So basically you pick up the base container, then you run commands one by one, as you would like installing the dependencies, then cloning the source, then basically building it, and you finally set which ports you want the container to be exposing to the outside world, and you show which command should be run as a starting point of the container. So I have these files already on Titania, so we save some time. So you have this Docker file. You use Docker to build it. You use T for naming it somehow, for example.
Alex,
sorry. You use the T option to name it. Is it? Should I make it?
Yeah, if you can.
I don't know how I can do this. So, and you specify which folder you want to use as a base. Then you hit enter. Okay, sorry. Yeah, when you hit enter, it builds. I already built it on this Raspberry Pi, so it goes pretty fast, but usually it takes some time to download, to execute those commands. And you can see after each step, it creates an intermediate cache. So whenever you run this a second time, it only starts from the command which is new. So if you change something, you don't run the whole thing. So now you can use this image that you built. Here you have the image ID, but you can also refer to it as a name. You can run it. IT means interactive. RM means remove after use, and then you say which ports you want. And this is the port that will be exposed on Titania side, and this is the port which is going to be seen inside the container. And then you have this. So you have the thing running. If I connect it to it with a browser, we will see the interface on this port. So, let's stop it. Now, once you've gone through this series of iterations to make it work, you've made it compile well, you run it as you want, you may want to proceed to the second step, is optimize the file. Here I have it, basically the same. It's basically the same Docker file, but I combined all the lines into one, so we don't have these extra steps. It makes the container smaller, so it basically treats all this thing as one. And I replaced the name of the pool with a variable name, so you can configure it through the Titania interface eventually. So we do the same thing, but we give it another file. You can see it's also built. Now that you have this image, you can use Docker images check. Here it is. Then you want to publish it on Docker Hub so other people can take it. For that, you want to give it a name, something like this, because in Docker Hub you have handle and the repository name, just like in GitHub. So to name an image, you use Docker type command. Say this is I'm going to copy that. Now you want to publish this image in Docker Hub. You go to the Docker Hub, create yourself an account with everything, and you do Docker login. Now that you have logged in, you can push the container. Well, it says layer actually exists because I pushed it earlier just to save time, but if you haven't, it will display program bar uploading this to Docker Hub. Now anybody can use your container, but Titania still needs to know a few things about the dApp, like dependencies, imports, and everything. So you have to write a JSON that will be used in our dApp hub. For that, you have this simple JSON. You invent yourself an ID, like in Java notation. You write the name of the service, description, labels, some metadata. And you also specify which ports you want. There are several types of ports. We will explain that in the documentation. Basically, this means whether this port should be visible to the Titania only, to the local network, or should it be forwarded on the router. And you can have variables which have default values, but they will show up eventually in the web interface, so the user can configure them. And finally, you specify which image from the Docker Hub you need to take. So now you take this piece of JSON and you append it to what we have at this location. But soon we will have like the system with several JSON files, so you can have a base one and you can add your own development things in there, in another one.
Base and community.
Yeah. Well, maybe base, community, and the development, so you can do that.
Are you overwriting?
Sorry?
The CP overwrites?
Yeah, here I overwrite because XMR is something I edited before. It's the whole thing plus this thing that I showed. So the last thing we need to do is restart the service, which creates the config files from this JSON. This is done like this. Either you need to restart the service or you just reboot it, and it's basically the same thing.
someone unplug it there?
No. It's really okay. So if you go to the next one, you can see we have a new dApp that wasn't there. The document that I said empty with the name. So if you go here and say download. Now I can check if it's running. Probably is. Now that you did this, you can access your dApp with the name that you have given it. And you have this is like JSON, but it's spiked from the miner itself. So well, that's basically it. Once you have done this, you can give this piece of JSON to other people. They can modify the Titanias, and they will be able to use your dApp. Does anybody have questions?
Yeah. What was the purpose of restarting the box itself?
We could access the books, that's why. Someone.
So
It's a UX glitch.
but it's not needed for the deployment to be distributed.
No,
It was just
it was
temporary.
just to save time and not investigate what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a very old build here, so it's not the recent one. Maybe something.
Okay.
So the ideal thing is that you edit the JSON and then you restart the service and you should have it here. Like on the Titania local dApps page. Yes.
You made this image on the same Titania Box, but you still have to download it from Docker?
No. It's just the UI shows it that you need to download it. But if you have this image tagged correctly on your Titania, it will not download. And that's why it started like immediately, as you can see. Otherwise, it would be downloading like 300 megabytes. It wouldn't be so fast.
Yeah. So I can actually skip uploading to Docker Hub.
Sorry?
I can actually skip uploading the image to Docker Hub if I have it.
If you only want to use it yourself, then yes.
For like to shorten the cycle.
Yeah, of course. You can even skip the JSON part, and you can write your own script to start this container on Titania. But what you want to do, you want to package it for other people so that they can use it.
When I'm like final or when I want to publish, when I'm cycling, then I can just start it locally and.
Yeah, well, what we showed here was sort of full cycle. If you do locally, you can stop at the point 1, I guess. You can skip the optimizing and everything. It's easier when it's in steps, so you don't have to rebuild everything.
You go one in a circle.
Yeah. And which step was crucial to have this URL working? So the dev org x miner. Which
Fourth
step
and
made it?
fifth.
Yeah, because
So you need to append the JSON and then restart the service.
whenever you start a dApp, it automatically gets registered through in Nginx. So if it's in JSON, then it will work.
So how would you add the front-end component on this URL? You need Nginx inside container?
You mean front-end as static files, not.
Let's say, for example, static files.
We will have a separate mechanic for static files, so they get served directly by Nginx. Currently, it's not this way. So you have to have some kind of web server inside the container.
Yeah. So then, that's why I thought when I said Nginx.
That is how the current Navcoin thing is working, that it is serving from itself and not from the Nginx part of it.
Yeah, but in future you would be able to mark which files are to be copied to Nginx, and they will be shown.
And any more questions?
Just a like simple basic one in handling the Raspberry Pi like when you want to transport it, you need to unplug it. And usually, like you should hold the system, but in order to do so, you need to log in via SSH or something to shut it down.
Are you suggesting, like, I think some people wrote in from the UX?
Is it practically safe to just unplug it? Because then you usually might mesh up your file systems.
It's basically the same thing as you have on normal computers. That depends on what the system is doing. Obviously, you have a file system corruption. Maybe a bit less because it's flash card and it's optimized to sort of withstand this kind of damage. But for example, if you're downloading something, you would have like partial download and it would have to clean the database. I'm not really sure if it's totally safe or not. It depends on the software.
But just like, how do you use it? Just unplug and...
Yeah, well, sometimes I don't like it. I do not recommend it though.
Yeah. And out of this, then I thought there like, yes, should be like a shutdown button in the dashboard.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, we can take that into consideration and implement it in updates.
Well, Raspberry Pis have a few GPIOs, and we were thinking about having a hardware button to have a login or a reboot or something.
I think this would be like more practical. You don't have to fire up your browser or computer even and
combine that with a mobile app. And if the mobile app uses Mercury to connect with admin interface, then it could be quite convenient in the future.
So this is like a basic implementation. We are seeing where people can take this, sort of. It's like so small infrastructure is here. If we want help from the infrastructure, we are going to do it. But we are expecting developers to make the apps and everything. And say that what they need, sort of. Because we've been out of this phase now, like from the RCs, and now we want to do something.
The point we wanted to demonstrate is that you can take a piece of software, write it, wrap it into Docker, and we have it as a dApp in like half an hour or something. If you know how to compile.
Is there like a list of apps, like non-distributed apps that you could just provide a curated list of stuff you can install? For a normal user who wants to run a mail server on his Titania Box, so it's prepackaged. Like probably there are some Docker images of these things already.
Everything that is on Docker Hub and has a RM build, so it's possible.
I just meant that it would be nice for the Titania users to have like a sanctioned list of Dockerized apps that you would curate.
Maybe, but we need to know the demand for them, because otherwise just listing everything that has a build, it's like listing GitHub. So basically millions of stuff.
Some of them start to run quite fast.
So if you look at the current state, we have the Navcoin app, and then we have, which you have to download. Then we have the IOP stack, which is pre-installed, and then you have the helper Nginx, which we need for the Titania Box to run. So this is what we have in the base structure. When people start making the dApps, then we add them to the store. When we have the decentralized store, then every node chooses what kind of store it wants.
Yeah. So the store will be just listing them, or will somebody be filtering stuff there?
Ideally, it should just be like listing stuff from. If you look at the localized view, then you maybe get like more apps that like nodes near you need or whatever. Your node will also form a storage layer that is going to store the apps for the App Store and stuff.
Well, in future it would look like you have like Google Play. Sorry, you have categories and you can have search and ratings and everything. But currently, just listing everything that's possible on Docker Hub isn't really practical because you have to have somebody to filter it and so on.
Yeah, we talked about the ideas that we had about different authors signing their own curated lists and then merging them together, opting into them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could, but aren't we out of time?
I know.
Okay, now we don't do it.
Be welcome to
In private if you want about this.
join the board and do it. But we do have the POS thing and the Mercury talk, so we should.
We don't have a Mercury talk, we have questions and answers, so if anyone interested, then we will
Luke,
talk about
are you
it.
ready with your presentation? Luke?
Yeah.
Are you ready with your presentation?
I'm going to set up my laptop, but yeah.
Cool.
So we have, it's written in Node.js, but we do have native executables, so all I have to do on Windows here is I just open it up, and that creates the login window. However, now if I open up the website, we have a point of sale system. So you can log in, the default login is just admin and task, but you can create new users for your employees, it logs who creates the orders and so on. So who would like to order something? I can do it with that Pepsi. Dave, what about you? What do you want?
I'm interested.
I'm going with Pepsi, I guess.
One Pepsi? One Diet Pepsi? Alright.
What's that?
So right now they're just set to 2 USD. This is also compatible for Euro, just requires some editing of the code. That's not an config file, even though most of this is configurable, including the products. It's not forced to sell soda. So if you look, it has the current IOP price in the top left corner. It gets the price in IOP. That's in bourbon. Now I feel bad.
Oh, we have below one.
I'll just have to flip that. Point was,
And market price.
I think that's only on the UI though. But yeah, if you look, here is correct. Sorry about that. So if I click confirm, it generates a brand new IOP address using my local IOP node, and it gives me a QR code for this. So if you're trying to purchase something, you just have to scan it with our mobile wallet, or you can use the address. So now I just copy the address. Sadly, I cannot use the QR code because I'm on my laptop, and I just create the transaction. So you just have to send the minimum amount. So in this case, I'll just send the 4.5.
Can you send a tip?
Huh?
Can you send a tip?
Yeah. So you just have to send at least that. So if I send 4.5, the rest of it will be considered as a tip. Now I can go back to the UI and market page. So if I do on our history, you'll see that it is an active order. And in about 20 seconds, it should be marked paid, since it's going to instantly. Oh, wrong thing. Nope, ignore that. So if you look, it created the order, and I have a low battery. It has an address, and there is a 0 complement. So right now it's set to 10 USD. That's in a configurable setting file, so you don't have to deal with that. And every 20 seconds, it asks the local node, and if you look, it succeeded. So now if I refresh it, it's marked as succeeded. Does anyone here want a Coca-Cola? Still got another few things to show.
Sprite, maybe.
Anyone?
Sprite, maybe.
Okay, I can do Sprite. So you want a Sprite. And I'll confirm your order. Ready to pay up?
Can you send less?
It won't validate the transaction, but if you do some less, you just have to send another to top it up.
Okay.
So click pay, because obviously you're not going to send me money because you're kind of cheap. And I realized that you're cheap. You know, it's not my favorite thing. You know, I kind of feel betrayed, and I trusted you. So here I am, and I'm going to have to cancel your order. You're not getting your Sprite. You know, I would have liked to not give you a Coca-Cola, just Coke is my thing, but you're not getting your Sprite, man. Now it's marked as failed. And if I refresh it, it stays failed, and that will also be in the log terminal. So we do successfully validate orders. You can create them, you can order products, yes.
What happens if you now send some money to this pair?
It doesn't check it at all. Too bad. Or if you send money and it's in the 20-second calling period, yeah, we canceled your order, we don't want your service, talk to me for a refund later, but don't because I don't actually care. So, continuing on, here we have the products page. So I can delete a product or can add a product. Does anyone have a soda they do not see here that they would like me to sell?
Monster.
Now
Yeah,
you're
Monster.
a big boy.
Or we can do IOP energy drink. I'm just saying. Can I just say, Jack to Germany, IOP energy drink, people power? That stuff. Oh my god, I think I have a few cans in my bag. So it allows you to set an asset file, but I don't have an image of Monster on hand, so I'm not going to set one.
that will cause an error when it's trying to load a picture. But let's set the price. I don't like Monster, so I'm going to charge a 500% surplus for it. So let's say $12. Sure. Okay. Sorry about that. And now if I go back to the menu, I can now sell you Monster. Finally, the one last thing I have to show you here is the users. I just realized you could delete that and then YouTube would probably not be able to do that. So you can also change the password. That's not in the UI yet though. But I can create a new user. So Dave, my chapter leader, you're now my employee. So, Dave, I'm going to create a user for you. Dave, what do you want your password to be? What's your password in real life? Let's use that.
Password crypto.
Huh?
Crypto.
Crypto, okay, I'm going to log into your Discord with that later. No one will know, it's not you. Now you have a new user, so if I click log out, and also, you can't get in if you aren't logged in. It does redirect you. So if you host this on a Titania Box, you don't have to worry about like customers going into your order. So now if I click log in, Dave, crypto, you're not on the system, Dave. The government knows you. Want a Coca-Cola or Pepsi?
Give me a Sprite. Can we do a Sprite?
You're betraying me right now. So now I click order. I can confirm your order. That didn't. Oh, okay. There was a hang up getting the price. It doesn't locate the price. So now we have your order. I'm going to mark it as paid because you're my friend. I'll get you a Sprite then. I'll cover it. But now if I do go to the order history, we can look while these are sales by admin. This one is a sale by you, Dave. You do not get a commission on that. So yeah, currently this is on GitHub. We're still working on a few things. Like we have to have change password to the UI. We will be packaging the Windows, Linux, and Mac builds soon. They do require some platform-specific files, so they're not ready to the public just yet. And then in a few weeks, we aim to have a Titania build ready for any of you running Titania boxes. Yeah. Oh, no, But real quick, does anyone? Oh yes.
Just a question. Where do you get the price?
Oh, we're using coin market cap, but I'm probably going to change that because coin market cap has fat BTC manipulation. Fat BTC is logging at 80 cents with face value, while Bittrex and every other exchange is logging about $1 right now. That's why it's 90 cents. Anyone else?
Should we?
Can we skip one or two exchanges? Because yeah.
I don't think you can with coin market cap, so I'll likely try to set it to Bittrex or make it a config setting. Not a fixed price, but what service you want to use for the price. Yes.
Business-wise, sometimes some shops want to sell it off soon, so they don't want to hold IOPs or BTCs.
I'm not looking. I don't think we're going to add an exchange built in.
Yeah.
We are looking into that. We also do plan, just you know, we're going to add a paid in cash button because that's not really relevant. I was just thinking about it. So we do not plan to integrate an exchange into this, but we might, and that is a good idea. Sorry if I got off your question.
Well, actually, you wouldn't need an exchange if you just use an
exchange, yeah,
for
an exchange
Bittrex.
tool.
Yeah, but again, if you can configure the exchange, then obviously you want to have an account with that exchange.
Yeah, if we use Exchangeability or Shapeshift, I could actually get a fee on every exchange you do. Commission. Because unlike Dave, I do get a commission. Yes?
We also have higher dApps. Can you add multiple currencies?
That is a feature we do plan on adding in the future. Anyone else? Alright. Happy to show that off. Oh, one last thing. The GitHub, in case anyone is wondering, it's not because it's not under the IOP GitHub yet, even though it is copyrighted IOP. It is IOP nerve / payment processor. I don't think really any of you can remember that forever, but just wanted to say that is the GitHub.
Thank you. Why you kind of a nerd?
Why what?
You know him.
From family name.
that a rhetorical
How do you
question?
go? But why do you draw two letters and then add an A?
Kayaba cycle was already called.
Kayaba is a character from a TV show.
Does it
Very
get on
used
your
to
nerves?
I first used it.
He doesn't get on
Good luck.
Thanks.
So now we have the Mercury Q&A. If anybody has any questions about Mercury, Ishwan is going to answer them.
Yeah, that's not me.
That's me. So, if you would like to talk about Mercury or have any questions or suggestions or whatever, then it is the time. Please do so.
This is the main communication protocol, so if anybody has any questions about it or the basics.
Everyone understands everything.
Yeah, then I have a question. If you guys saw the presentation from the morning, did you understand the details of what I was trying to explain? Do you have a clear picture of what we are trying to achieve with Mercury?
In some sort, yes, but I think for myself, I need to reprocess it in a way, and perhaps then if it's published, go through it and let it sink in.
Yeah, probably.
The most part, I think, was transported, and I could build up an image of some sort.
I guess the tech part, if you don't know the technologies, you are not familiar with those abbreviations and all the tech stuff, then it's much harder. But that was not the main point. That's just a hint how we want to implement that. The main point was what is the problem and with what construction we want to solve it. If that part was understandable.
I'm going to step out. I just want to say that your adapter is still up there. Thank you.
Okay, I want to ask something. Can we have a run through of what we want developers to do, with the Mercury code that we are going to release very soon?
Sorry, I couldn't understand if you were saying to me. Could you repeat?
So can we have a run through of what do you want developers to do after we release the Mercury repo on Git?
Okay. So what we would like to have is some feedback from interested developers. So we are planning to open up the whole source code and add some documentation and help you to start somehow using it. And it would be very important information for us. First of all, where the documentation is lacking, what you don't understand of it. And after you understand and try to build something out of it, what pain points you have, what is badly designed, what is missing, or what you need that is still lacking. So any feedback that you would give is really valuable.
What I didn't quite get is what protocol does Mercury run on top of?
Sorry, could you speak up a bit?
What protocols does it run on top of? Or will there be many adapters? Or
do you mean the transport protocols like TCP? Currently it runs on top of TCP, but it in principle it's not limited to TCP, so we plan to add some more transport.
Yes, in the presentation there were the Animax versions mentioned, but you will need to write adapters to the other protocols probably.
Yes, of course. So hopefully it should be easy. We don't use anything specific regarding the protocol. We just need a channel to write into and a channel read from, basically byte streams out and in. That's all.
Should be ordered reliable transport.
Yeah. So have you thought about I had thought when I learned about href and all these things that it could replace TCP. So you build we use the hash graph on top of UDP and replace the reliability layer with a distributed.
I never heard of that idea yet.
It's something like when you run so when you buy a PC, you install Linux on it, you put a virtual machine with the Windows in it, and then on that Windows you run a Texas Instruments 89, and then you run a ZX Spectrum inside there. So probably not the best solution. So we were more targeting like these anonymity layers, like Tor or I2P, than slow transport like hash graph.
And hash graph can be fast if you ignore most of it.
Yeah.
So if you could build up on UDP, that could be fast, but I'm quite convinced that as soon as you start running the consensus algorithm all together with network management, who are the nodes and how many are they, accounting that and traversing through the graph and counting supermajority and consensus, then it will be much worse than TCP in itself. So, yeah.
Just an example, those guys are proud to use OCaml because they don't want an operating system under their stack because they want to be really fast. So they are even prepared for running Tezos on the metal.
I wanted to learn OCaml in one time.
But we are not that bored, so
I completely understand that TCP is a very good protocol and established, and it works for many users. Once you have your millions and millions of dollars and time, then you can maybe try to reinvent the wheel, but yeah.
Where it needs improvement is probably following the packets like the Tor Onion networking or different kind of authentication methods, maybe with encrypted channels.
Yeah.
Not like a TLS session or whatever. So these might be interesting features regarding transportation and encryption or whatever. But
just a very selfish question. Like right now, if I understand correctly, the identity layer consists of that you can add arbitrary private keys, and those are separate identities. And
yes, that's the model. Currently, we have implemented ED25. What's that number? I forgot.
BIP39 wallet. So BIP39 minimum include wallet.
Okay. Are there any plans to do the physical identity layer in some way, or do you?
Do you mean fingerprints, iris
Something
scans,
like
or
if
whatever?
it could be possible to do a decentralized biometric scan or something like anonymity parties and stuff like that.
Probably it would be possible, but I would say I think we might not like it in the sense that it's very easy to stall. But much easier than hack your usual computer system probably. So just take a good photo of your fingers or eyes and the scanner is already tricked. Also collecting this kind of biometric informations may be sensitive in real life. So while it doesn't really matter what kind of private key you are generated randomly, you can drop it, you cannot drop your fingerprints or eyes easily if needed. So somehow it's much more sensitive.
That your eyes are dropped, not according to your will, so accidents happen, then you are locked out of your account to use that.
Yeah. But maybe Biggie has something to add here. So,
yeah, so my problem with biometrics is that it's a password that you cannot change, on one hand. On the other hand, if you choose a given type of biometric, For example, my mother-in-law has an official paper that she doesn't have a fingerprint. So cool. And so if we would enforce fingerprints, then we would disable some users who could anytime create random numbers. Yeah?
When I thought about it, I saw it as a nice way to do two-factor authorization. So just to use it as a complementary tool for some things that you would have.
Yeah, cryptography is very so nowadays cryptography is very portioned. There are many different topics in it, and we just solve one piece in it, like communication, decentralized, third-party less.
Yeah.
And the rest can be integrated into decentralized applications and all that other things, and are unrelated to this piece.
Yeah. The physical identity can be solved on a much higher layer. So I'm just interested, if it will be at some point part of your solution, or
it won't be called Mercury.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So probably it will be not implemented by us. If someone needs it desperately, then the sources are free, and anyone is free to add it to their own version. Probably that is the future approach.
Okay. Is there some debug tools available, or like some instrumentation mechanics built into it, so that you can, for like learning purposes, like visualize things, what happens, and sort of understand it through how's it called,
reverse engineering. Yeah. Okay, I understand, and you're right. But to be honest, come on, man, we don't even have documentation. So I understand. Probably it would be a good idea to provide you something like that. Maybe just starting from examples how the protocol works and which messages it sends, up to a message analyzer or whatever. Let's talk about that in the future. Fortunately, I can say I never needed a debugger so far. So Rust was so good that by just logging one line or two with a print, I could solve everything that was not solved already by the compiler by refusing the code.
Or is there some internal logging that can just be enabled and it puts out what's happening inside the stack or something?
Yes, we have added logging already. Okay. So, but if not, then there's just print line and prints to the console. So
you will have to do your reverse engineering manually by yourself. all the work.
But once you get the grasp of it, you realize how simple this protocol is. It doesn't use that complicated cryptography, and still how many use cases are covered by it. So that's the shocking part.
Yeah. So
can you list some use cases, like what are the, what can developers do as soon as the source code is released? Like what applications are?
So you like us to give you ideas, hints, what kind of distributed applications you should try?
For instance, a messaging app,
yeah.
Don't give them our ideas.
No, it's a secret. Obviously, any network protocols test suite is to make a chat app. So that's why we started with IOB chat last year in the Java stack. That's something we will provide soon, because we have to show that it works. And
so we're gonna provide a
chat app, yes, but that's a. But let's say it not with fancy stickers and.
Basic. But then, yeah, from that you can build on the chat apps. I mean, payments, or you can build so many things within the apps.
Alright, so I'm trying to figure this out. So when you have a profile on Mercury, is there like, do you you like sign up for a specific dApp to get a profile, or is it like there's like a central thing like that is Mercury and create a profile on?
Profiles are independent from applications, so you start with your identities. You generate as many identities as you want.
So where do you go?
They go first, and then you can install applications as many as you want.
So where do you go?
You might you might allow the applications access to your profile and relations and some data, so they can use your profile. They can operate through that identity, and you can uninstall anytime, and they can then they lose access. And maybe we will use them later through another identity. The same application can be changed regarding identity. So applications and profiles are not closely connected in this way. Sorry, I interrupted.
So like, is Mercury Connect what you're creating a profile?
Yes.
Is that what Mercury essentially is for the user? Like,
yes.
So that's what they download. And where do they download that?
It'll be in the app stores, assuming that
Okay.
Apple
So
doesn't
you
give us
think-
a...
But so either way, it'll be in some sort of...
We have to disassociate it from crypto, and I think we'll be fine.
Yeah.
I mean, by that I mean we don't reference any crypto in it. I mean, there's nothing in the UI that would indicate that it's a crypto-based app.
I'm just thinking in
Messaging app,
terms
probably.
of adoption for this. Like, how are we making it easy for the everyday user to just...
They don't care about this at all. So I think as you never bought Android phone for I don't know, setting up your background picture. You bought it to call someone else. So, and the call is an application that was bundled with your operating system. Okay. So setting up a profile and I don't know, associating it with a call application is not something that the user will realize that they are doing. So they just want to download the call program and call the other user. Okay, they don't care what is this IoT Connect or Mercury Connect in the background helping them.
But this profile that they create in Mercury would be something that would follow them around through any dApp in the hardware ecosystem. No, or would they have a different profile for every dApp that they're using?
They decide. So they decide.
Any dApp that we create as well would have to integrate with those identities that they choose to create in Mercury too, would they not?
No, it didn't work that way. He said that the dApps would have to integrate with each of those profiles. It works the other way around. The user decides which profile he wants to use the dApp with. Okay. He goes and seeks out the dApp and connects it. It's the same kind of
Okay, but the dApp would have to know about that profile in some way.
No, the user has to know about the dApp and has to want to use it.
Who knows what an IPv4 address is? Hands up. Okay. Among those who don't understand what a profile is.
Don't understand what it is?
Pardon? Among those who know what IPv4 address is, who don't know who don't understand what a profile is. Okay.
I think if you were going.
So we were talking about TCP. Okay. So when I say I don't know if you look at this address, this is the IPv4 address. This is what you never write into the browser. This is you just don't write it. Yeah? And I tell you what, you don't even write this into the browser usually. You just write Titania .local or I don't know, IoT .global. So you want some name for this series of numbers. Okay. This will resolve to this thing, and your browser knows that it by default uses this port to access that thing. Okay. Now, how it happens in Mercury, I choose a different color. In Mercury,
you have a profile. You just toss some coins, you have a long random number, and you just create a private key from there, you make a public key from the private key, you hash it a bit, you get an address, just like a Bitcoin address. Okay, that's your long name in the name of the profile in this some scramble, yeah, like blah 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 blah, whatever. FC5. Okay, so that was a long hexadecimal number. Okay. You never type that anywhere. You can make a QR code of it, and then users can scan it so that they know that you are connecting to that. But this is basically a non-recognizable, you don't remember thing, just like a Bitcoin address. You never, okay, sometimes I typed Bitcoin addresses, but that was really
you were forced to.
Yeah.
For some reason that irritates the living shit out of
you. Exactly. No, I have to. Yeah. But you never. So if I meet you and I want to do something with you after we met, I just scan your number, big number, and I store it in my phone as Dave Crypto. Okay. But there's a difference. So I type in my own phone, Dave Crypto. Now I start my chat application, and I say that, hey, I would like to talk to this Dave Crypto guy. So I choose Dave Crypto, and my chat application chooses the application name, like, I don't know, chat.
And this chat application is a dApp built on Mercury.
Yeah, the chat application is dApp built on Mercury.
Okay.
In Mercury Connect, I allow this chat to use one of my profiles, whatever, another phone number, which he saved as Wiggy. And I allow, on my phone, I allow the chat application to use this profile to talk to anyone on the chat, using the chat protocol. So now, when I open my contact list, I see Dave Crypto. This profile is friends with this profile, okay? They are related. They already allow each other to contact each other. Yeah? So I can choose, in my chat application, I can choose Dave Crypto from my friends, and I can send something to him. And that's when magic happens, because the whole Mercury network will find your phone, actually find your home server, and tell your phone, hey, Wiggy's trying to send this message to you. Okay, so that's the Mercury.
Home server, so it doesn't need to be connected with the cellular network.
If he's offline, if his mobile phone is offline, then my call reaches only his home server, so home node, and then that can remember that to notify him when next time he's online again.
Yeah, it also should work on Wi-Fi at home or whatever, so independent of the transport.
I plan to put a task to the community developers to develop a phone book and to handle profiles, your own profiles and the profiles that you save in the book. I mean, I just remember when I add an entry, and then I add also some notes that this guy is, I met him at the conference, IoT conference.
Adding users and creating a contact list will probably be a graphical plugin into what we provide. So the graphical user interface, how you do this either on your phone or PC or whatever, it will be platform dependent.
And it will be developed by the community developers or you provide it? That was the question.
I don't know yet.
So the thing is that we implement the Mercury Connect in Rust, but the user interface is platform dependent. So on Android, we need an Android user interface. We'll probably provide some user interfaces, but if you have a Windows Phone, probably we won't develop that for there. So the community, we need a way so that if the community has an urge to implement the Windows Phone user interface, they can plug it in to our maintained Rust code base, and at the right time it can just pop up a dialog box in Windows Phone that, okay, do you want to accept this friend request from the crypto?
And this is the same situation with your own profiles.
The own profiles, yeah, you need a user interface to create your own profiles. And when you first install the chat application, you have no profile. So when the chat application starts, it probably wants you to choose a profile. And since you have no profile, you need to create that profile first. But this is similar, like if you want to use draw.io, okay, on the internet. Draw.io doesn't save passwords. It wants Google to save the password. So it forces you to create a Google account, if you don't have one, and then log in with Google to Draw.io. Or if you have multiple Google accounts, and you are logged into all of them, you can choose which one to use to log into to Draw.io. But this thing happens on your own phone. Okay, if you have multiple accounts on your phone, you can choose one. If you have none, you can create one. Otherwise, you're lucky. You just need to allow this application to use your profile. Did that answer?
Yes, thanks.
But this is part of the Mercury Connect, the SDK, below the SDK, and it doesn't need to be re-implemented in every decentralized application, because that would be just a waste of effort.
So for the moment, can we run Mercury on mobile phones or only on PCs? And what you are going to release?
Currently, we don't have any specific graphical user interfaces, so this is just a command line application on the server side and the client library. So not a client application yet. We probably will not provide a client application. We will provide the SDK to build some application with this. As a client, we will provide the server and the client libraries that you could use.
And, is it hard to interrupt Rust with native Android application?
Rust should be quite easy to integrate with nearly anything because first of all, Rust can be cross-compiled into Windows to Linux to OS X and also to different hardware platforms like Intel, like ARM, so on. So in itself, it's quite good already. Also, it can quite easily export a C interface of itself. So we can provide a C interface to call directly into our Rust libraries, and based on top of that C library, you can generate different language bindings. For example, with Swig, if you know that. And with these language bindings, you can use the library directly from Python, from Java, from C#, from whatever. C is quite universal in this sense, and also the compiler team is very hardly working on providing a very usable WebAssembly.
Okay, so the C interface will be part of the package?
Yes, we plan to do so. We haven't implemented that yet. Currently, it can be used either directly from Rust or through Cap and Proto, which is somewhat similar to, let's say, HTTP REST interface or whatever, but uses a different serialization format and a different RPC call model. More advanced than REST, but less popular yet.
does anybody have any other general questions?
I have one addition then, if there are no questions. We mentioned that we really think how simple this protocol is in principle. Basically, it consists only of a few calls like please, when you connect to a home server, you can say please register me and post my profile, or you can revoke it. So you want to move to another home server. You can also log in. You proved already that you are this cryptographic identity, so now I'm logging on I am online. So you have a session, and on that session you can wait for events, like someone is pinging you, please let's be friends, or you can start an application, and that application checks into the home server that, okay, I'm ready to be accepting calls. And basically that's all it does. So it's very, very simple. What's still a bit more inconvenient in it, that sometimes you have to contact other home servers when you want to call someone else. So what I explained is accepting connections and events. When you want to send out pairing requests to build a relation or call an existing relation, then you have to connect to the home server of the other guy, the other peer. You have to go there and ping that I want to call and I want to talk to him. This should be also completely automated. And also the graphical user interface part and all the tag sheet should be hidden. So that is our aim with the very convenient SDK, which we only have a plan for so far. We were concentrating on the tag details and the implementation so far. So we built what I explained with the simple calls, but not all tag details are hidden yet. But we hope the basics in itself are simple enough already to start using it for applications.
One question, if you are logged into multiple devices with your profile, the protocol will probably contact all of them, or how is that handled? Because the app itself probably has to synchronize. Like if I take a call on one device, it stops running on the other devices.
Then I
can. Yeah, you can. Okay, please.
So, security first. We don't support this.
Okay.
Because you shouldn't copy your private key from one device to the other, because then this private key is exposed to multiple losses.
Okay, but for the basic user, he wants to be logged into the same profile.
So, for that, you will need group profiles of these device profiles, okay? And then you don't make friends with your device profile, but you will do friends with your group profile, so it doesn't matter.
Okay.
And this feature, this extra indirection, is not yet in the this version. Yeah, but you should never.
But
you should never copy.
So in the future,
private keys from one device
will be
to
the default that when I meet someone, I give him my group ID, and then my group ID handles my different devices.
Mm-hmm. So that you can revoke. For example, if you know that you lost that mobile phone, then you can, from the other devices, you can revoke access to this group.
Okay.
But this is not a group, it's you, it's just an extra indirection of profiles, okay?
So if anyone is interested, my battery is low, I have to plug in my notebook, but we can even check some source code or check into some details if you're interested. I don't know if it's worth that time, so let me know. We will open it up quite soon anyway, so...
Yeah, you're publishing on GitHub.
Yes, we will publish on GitHub
Or
we
just
hope
in
in a week or so. So we are still working on the test. We haven't built all the tests yet, and we want to be sure first that at least the tests are running. And hopefully we will have them passed all quite soon. That's our goal, to open it up.
I think we are done then.
Okay, then thank you for your time, for your questions, discussions.